What's up, everyone? It's the Cash Show. We're breaking down cash games for NFL Week 13. Bryce, I'll kick it over to you. You coming off the big win after winning like 72,000 on Thanksgiving. You definitely had a better Thanksgiving than me. My Thanksgiving was not the greatest when it came to NFL. I feel like you didn't do good in cash. I don't know, but the tournament's definitely crushed. I'm curious, how'd you do in cash it for the Thanksgiving slate?
I actually stopped playing cash on Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
I tagged everyone in Discord. I like the playoff slates way better than the Thanksgiving slates, just in general. So I just did all the 150 max stuff. But yeah, I don't think my cash team would have been great.
I saw the core because someone asked me what my core was for cash, and I looked up the cash core, and I was like, it's the same thing. So it probably wouldn't have went well for you. I'll say that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have played the core just because, like, I mean, when I'm doing content, regardless, I mean, I'm playing 99% of cash slates, just not the Thanksgiving ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think it was the right core. I look back at it. I think it was the right team that I tried to get people to land on, and it just didn't work. I don't love cash for 3-game slates. I really like it for like 4+.
Yeah. Now, I actually thought this one wasn't a bad one because I thought there were decisions to make, but it was. I mean, Cowboys defense buried me on FanDuel. My 2v2 was Laporta and Lions D versus Jonnu Smith and Cowboys D, and I went with the Laporta one, and I ran really pure, and I was like, okay, this is great. And then the Cowboys defense knew.
Yeah. Jonnu got there for me at the end.
Yeah. Jonnu definitely, gosh, that role he has is pretty good. But all right, that's enough of the Thanksgiving stuff. Let's dive in and talk about this week. It's definitely a really really interesting week for cash games. We have one of the I'd say one of like the better games we've seen kind of all season long. Right? We have the Eagles game. That's a big one that we'll discuss against the Ravens. We'll see if we're able to even access it. That's the problem you're gonna run into. A lot of highly priced options. But we'll dive in, and it actually starts Sunday's December 1st. So we're hitting December, the time of year. We'll look at the quarterback position to kick it off. And, of course, Lamar and Jalen Hurts. Great options if you have the salary, right? Again, they're in that 52 total. That's going to be a key point to talk about on this slate. Yeah, again, I don't know if I can get them. It depends on the value that we're presented with. And that's going to depend on the value with the Friday practice reports, right? Like I know there's, J.K. Dobbins had that questionable tag. So you have Gus Edwards as a value that could pop up. There's a lot of different questionable guys that could kind of change the nature of the slate. So again, Friday practice reports are going to be important. We're kind of doing this a little bit early because we got the Chiefs game starting at 3:30. So it kind of messes up the normal start time. And it's a little bit of a mess with that. But a lot of sports going on. Justin Herbert, I think, is a really interesting option. That has a way higher total than you'd expect. It was at 49. I don't know if it's trended down in the past couple days, but 5.6K for Justin Herbert. I think he's an interesting value you can look at. You can make a case for Matthew Stafford at 5.8 as a value. Anthony Richardson at 5.5. We know with his legs, he's going to basically be a value most of the season. So, Bryce, are you looking to spend up or spend down? Because I think that's going to be like one of the big decisions with quarterbacks.
So, I think on FanDuel, it's much easier to access like an expensive quarterback like Lamar, for example. My favorite option is Herbert. He's been running a lot recently, and they really opened up their offense. I like that game for points, so I think I prefer him to Richardson. Just in a dome as opposed to being at New England. I think they're both solid options on DraftKings. I think it's spent down on DraftKings at quarterback to those like mid-5 range. On FanDuel, I think it's pretty easy to get up to like a Lamar Jackson type of guy. He's only 8,700 there, and like Herbert's like 7,900. So you're only spending 800 more. So that's kind of my plan at quarterback right now.
Yeah, I agree. Like Herbert definitely feels like a really good target for me. And like with Dobbins being messed up injury-wise, not only Dobbins messed up with the injuries that everything he's dealing with, but they're just, like you said, they open up the offense a little bit more. And I'm not surprised that kind of takes some time with the new coach. And Herbert's clearly gotten more comfortable. And he's playing against the Falcons, who play at a pretty fast pace, right? So I do love going down to Herbert. I think he's a pretty good option. And The total has, let's see. So it has the total gone down. I don't know why I can't find it here. It's like not listed. Oh, it's up there. I don't know why it's all the way up at the top on Pinnacle, but it's gone from 49 to 48. I'm curious how it trends because, again, when I saw it open up at like more in the 49 range, I was pretty surprised with that number. And to be fair, a lot of games have gone down. The Eagles-Ravens has gone down from 52 to 51. Steelers-Bengals went from 49 to 47.5 in the past couple of days. So totals are trending down a little bit. The Rams and Saints one is kind of hung pretty strong at 49. Same with Bucks and Panthers at 46.5. That's enough of that, though. Let's get the running back, where value is going to be very important here at running back. Breece Hall, questionable. Brian Robinson Jr. and Eckler, both with questionable tags. Those are big things to watch for sure. I know that'll help out that backfield. Dobbins, doubtful now. That's changed in the past couple days. Dobbins' tag is definitely an interesting one because if he doesn't play, which he probably doesn't, that's going to open up a really good value in Gus Edwards at 4.3K. I do think this is going to be one of our bigger value weeks because if we are missing Robinson Jr. and we're missing Austin Eckler, that opens up a really nice spot for McNichols at 5.4K. Going against the Titans, which isn't the most ideal spot in the world, but it's definitely a spot that you are going to have some interest in. I think there's one more value I'm forgetting at 4K that might be emerging. I'll have to double check while you talk about everything, Bryce, but there's going to be value everywhere. There's obviously spends like Henry and Barkley in great games. Can we get up to them, though, on this slate? For me, I'm noticing we're going to definitely want to get exposure to these values, but that might also help us get one spend running back. But what's kind of your thoughts?
My favorite play at running back is actually Kamara. His role is just so strong in this New Orleans offense, especially on DraftKings with the PPR. And he's only 7,700. I think it's much easier to get up to him than Barkley. Saquon's been screwing me all season, but, the way you attack Baltimore is through the air. So that's kind of where I'm at with, like, the expensive guys. I think Chase Brown's a pretty good option at 6'2". He's seen 100% of snaps. Bengals are in total win now mode. They need wins, and they need a lot of them. So, I think he sees a lot of action there. After them, I'm probably going to end up punting Gus Edwards. I'm assuming Dobbins is out, and obviously we're doing the show early, so it'll stuff can change very easily. But that's why this is a free show, and you get in the Discord, and everything can change by Sunday morning in terms of the way that we're building. I'm pretty much focused on those three guys as of right now. If Bijan plays, I think he's a viable spend. I do like that Atlanta Chargers game, 4 points. And for people who are worried about playing like Herbert and Gus together in cash, that is 100% fine. You basically just soak all the touchdowns, hopefully, and they're both too cheap in my opinion. So stuff like that, not a concern for me in cash games at all.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You make a good point with the Chase Brown stuff too, like Kamara obviously as well. Also Joe Mixon. He's got a great match against the Jaguars for what it's worth. I know Texans have struggled. There's just a lot of good spends, right? And I know Gus is definitely one of the values we'll get to. I don't know who the other one I was thinking of was because I did the show on Wednesday and I can't remember the exact guy that could have emerged. But again, we're getting late in the year where guys just pop up as injury, they got injury tags and all of a sudden there's a cheap running back. Like I said, there is the McNichols stuff though at 5.4. I'm probably not dying to get there, but it is there as an option if you want.
I don't mind McNichols at all. It depends who sits.
Yes. That's the key. And they have a pretty healthy team total, right? Sabre has it at 25.5 right now. I don't know if that will stick, but that is where it's at right now. And we'll see what happens to the questionable guys with all the injury reports. But I think that's everything for running back. Like I said, just stay focused on the news. Gus Edwards is probably the key thing that's going to kind of lead the slate, right? It's going to be all right, well, no Dobbins. We got to play this value. And when we play that value, we have the ability to spend up for a Kamara or one of the good running backs in Barkley or Henry. So we have that ability to, it looks like. Or we could spend up at a receiver, which we do have spend up receivers this week. It's not like they're just non-existent anymore. But Jamar Chase against Pittsburgh, he will probably be not a bad play, but T. Higgins is back. That kind of causes some issues there with the volume he's getting. You got A.J. Brown up at top. Justin Jefferson going up against Arizona. That's obviously not a bad game. Nico Collins at 7-9. I know he was a little bit of a cash game play last week. You got the Rams in that 49 total with Puka and Cooper Kupp. You have a bunch of guys you can spend on. The problem is, I don't know if I'm dying to get there, right? Like, I do think there's some interesting options in the 6K range as well. Like George Pickens at 6'8". He could easily be an option that we get to. Not Mike Evans. T. Higgins. He's intriguing, right? Going up against Pittsburgh. I don't think he's a bad option. Not typically your cash play, but I don't think he's the worst option you can get to. Zay Flowers at 6'2". It's a great way to get exposure to a wide receiver 1 in a 61.5 total. So that's another way that you could go. You got Calvin Ridley. He's been a wide receiver 1 since DeAndre Hopkins left, and he's been in trailing scripts and been absolutely great. It seems like every single week. Brian Thomas Jr. is back in our lives at 5.5K. Looks like Trevor Lawrence might play. That's a big decision point that you'll have to make. So there's a lot of options you can definitely take your chances on. I'm sure I missed some that you're going to discuss, Bryce, but who are some of the receivers you're looking at on this slate?
Up top, I like Puka a ton. I really like that Saints-Rams game. And, I think his role is better than Kupp's role right now, so I would go Puka over Kupp. Chase, with T back, I would honestly prefer to play T over Chase for the price. Justin Jefferson is always a good play at 8-1. So those are kind of my 3 expensive guys I'm looking at. In tournaments, I think A.J. Brown is too expensive, but, you do want to attack Baltimore through the air, and I think that A.J. Brown's a very solid play. Not necessarily a cash play for me, though. Dropping down a bit, I like Zay Flowers at 6'2". I'm just not sure if I'm going to be able to get there. I think Ridley's a very strong play at 5'7" against this Washington defense in a trailing script. I've been playing Ridley pretty much every week, and they just throw to him every freaking play. So I think that's pretty solid. Brian Thomas, if he gets Trevor Lawrence back, I really do like him at 5'5", and it's looking like Lawrence is trending towards playing. And then I think the cheap guy this week, and it's a little ugly, would be David Moore at 3.5K, going up against a porous Tampa Bay secondary.
Who was the last guy you said?
David Moore.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I just don't know if we'll need those values on this play. That's the key, I think.
I don't think that we need him at this point, but I don't know. Say Dobbins plays, you don't give Gus Edwards, or you go Gus and him, and then you can spend on literally whatever you want. Yeah, no, that's definitely certainly possible. And it just depends what you think of some of these other ranges. Like sometimes you get stuck and you're like, okay, I'm not gonna I had this 1 week this year where I was just like, I think it was a couple weeks ago. I was like, I'd rather just spend all the way down to 3K than spend for even the 4K receivers, just because of what it did for your full lineup. So sometimes you land into those spots where you have to kind of make those decision points. Let's get the tight end. And based on looking at receiver, I think it's clear it's probably a 3 running back week, right? Way more than wanting to play receivers. Tight end, you have Trey McBride, clearly an option you can spend on. We have Taysom Hill at 5K. Taysom Hill has been he's been awesome in this role. I would still consider him at 5K. Would I be prioritizing it? No, I think it just depends if hey, I have the opportunity to spend up at tight end, because there's not a ton of spend up tight ends for sure. Taysom's my favorite tight end, and I never say that. I would prefer to play him to McBride, honestly.
I'd agree on that.
Just the way they use him in this offense right now, and I'm fine playing him and Kamara together. I just think it's a pretty good spot for the Saints here. And I really like that game in general.
Yeah, the one thing I would call out too about that game specifically, and I talked about this with stats on the First Look show. We want to watch the totals and see how they trend. And Steelers Bengals trended down. What's the other game I was going to say that trended down? Oh, Chargers Falcons. It trended down, which again, I still like that game, but that Rams Saints game is the one that held strong. The ones that we were wow, they're kind of higher totals. That's the one that stuck. So it wouldn't surprise me too to kind of dig in deeper on that game when I build some of my cash game stuff.
Yep. 100%. I'll talk about FanDuel tight end real quick here. Taysom's not in play for me at 7K.
Yeah.
I'm not spending 7K on Taysom. I would prefer to spend down. If anything, if Disley is good to go, I think him at 5.2 is super strong. I think Hunter Henry is a pretty safe option, and he could have had a much bigger game last weekend. And they're definitely featuring him. And then the other guy I'd like to mention is Evan Ingram. 5.8K, I think it's too cheap with Lawrence back.
Yeah, I was going to call it the Ingram stuff. 4.8's not bad for him. Other guys you can make a case for on DK, I guess, is like K-Dot at 4.5, just any tight end going against Carolina, kind of you can make an argument for if you landed there. I wouldn't hate the Hunter Henry stuff against the Colts, but again, not my favorite thing to do. Disley, 4K. He'd be interesting if he suits up. Mark Andrews, 3.9. You can make a case just getting exposure to that game. Not a bad route to go. But yeah, I think it's like TBD what I do with my tight ends, just because I want to see what kind of salary I have. And if I can get up to Taysom, yeah, I'm in agreement. It's like, let me just go get Taysom. It makes sense. But we'll have to see how the rest of it shakes out. Let's get to defense real quick and talk about that, because we are getting to that time of year where defense is kind of important. Like, there are just some spots where there's absolutely lame quarterbacks. We saw it with Drew Lock yesterday. Not saying Drew Lock's lame, but he's a backup for a reason, right? And like, sure, he can have some nice plays here and there, but also that comes with a lot of sacks and comes with a lot of just like, poor decisions. Spend up options that you would get to. I would say
I will say the one thing about defense on this slate is you don't have a huge favorite. Like,
yeah, you don't.
It's not like yesterday where like you get like Drew Lock absolute trash backup. I was way over the Cowboys. I personally don't have tons of defensive stands right now. Defensive side, I would say the Commanders are my favorite if you have the money to spend on him or on them. Tampa Bay against Carolina. I always love playing guys against Bryce Young, even though Bryce Young has looked better recently. Other defenses, I think it's okay to punt defense this week. I don't think the Jets are like a totally dead team. Like, they're still trying, obviously, just because there's nothing else for them to do, really. So I don't hate them.
Yeah, for sure. Again, the cash slate not totally figured out yet. I think we will have a lot of value. It's either going to narrow the path or give us a lot of different decisions. That'll be stuff related to the Discord. It'll be on the playbook where we have the cash game rankings. We'll have a core up for you guys. So if you subscribe to the channel and use that code GIBLETS44, get you 44% off your first payment. Also, hit that like if you could. Subscribe to the channel to find out when we go live. We got college football show later. We got showdown show. I mean, we got everything going on. So be sure to check all of that out. Bryce, any final thoughts for the people?
No, just run pure. And, we'll have all this content up early Sunday morning. Ready to close out a big weekend.
Sounds good. All right. We will get on out here. Thanks a lot for joining us here on the Cash Show. For me, Mangone, and Bryce. We'll see you guys later.